Chelsea drew 2-2 with Burnley. No one's even shocked. No one is even speaking about it. This is how badly Chelsea have fallen into obscurity, falling into irrelevance. We are useless. We are inconsistent. The only thing we're consistent at is being inconsistent. I know that Chelsea Football Club aren't going to turn up. The only thing we're consistent at doing as well is conceding goals. In the last 5 games, we've conceded 10 goals. It's 2 in 5 games in a row. It's a mess. And this one was against Burnley, where we didn't turn up. They had 10 men. And we couldn't break down another team. Players look clueless. Players that have cost towards 100 million, if not above 100 million, looked useless. They looked out of control. They looked out of their depth. They lacked any quality. I didn't see any ideas of how they were meant to be playing, how their abilities and the price tags that they were purchased for would suggest that they were able to win a game of football against 19th place Burnley, one of the worst teams the Premier League has ever seen. A club that have come into the Premier League this season and completely failed, have managed to walk away from Stamford Bridge with 10 men, with a manager being sent off, and earn a point. That's how bad it's got at Chelsea Football Club. I've lost any energy to back Chelsea, to be excited about Chelsea, to be annoyed at Chelsea when things don't go our way. And that's awful, because I used to get so annoyed at games like that, games like the Burnley game, because I really could see that something would happen and Chelsea would perform better than that if the fans were vocal. It doesn't happen now. We can say all we want. Todd Boehly will still come out to Forbes and basically say he doesn't care, because that's what it is. He's come out and said, do you know what, even if the fans who care about the club don't turn up, the tickets will be taken by tourists and I'll still make money. All this is a business venture. He's basically said that. He has come out and said that he genuinely believes these players are of a level of quality that is above average, and with time they will become a team, and then we will start to see the results that Chelsea Football Club are familiar with. Who on earth is he to say that? A man that before 2020 had probably never watched football, had no idea about European sport. It's an outrageous statement. And we go into the game tomorrow against Manchester United, a battle of the titans in previous years, a battle for the title. Chelsea and Manchester United are 2 clubs that at the hands of American owners have fallen by the wayside. 2 giants of English football are now battling for lower table positions and levels of Europe that probably aren't classed as a success at either club. Now, Chelsea are a lot further away from Europe than Manchester United are, but wow, both teams and their fans wouldn't be happy with where they are. This is, quite honestly, a battle of mid-table obscurity, and it should be a giant game. I don't think either fan base is excited. Manchester United have got a lot of defensive injuries. They're not going to be happy with who they have to put out. The real talking point is going to be Mason Mount. I feel like that's the only exciting thing for either fan base to kind of speak about, is how he deserted Chelsea when they arguably needed him most. He wouldn't sign that contract, and he was more bothered about his brand and joining Manchester United and taking the 7. Now, it's probably written in the stars, isn't it, that Mason Mount will cough up a goal that will probably inevitably hurt Chelsea, because how many times have we let players go and they've done that to us? But realistically, that's the only exciting thing I can see coming from this game. As you can probably tell, I'm very down and have no hope for this. It's actually probably like Chelsea to step up in a game against a better opposition this season and potentially get a result. But the only way I see that happening is Cole Palmer. No one else on the team gives me any confidence. No one else on the team gives me enough belief or evidence to suggest I know they'll turn up. We've spent over 200 million on our midfield, and I am not quite sure at what they're good at. Caicedo is okay. He's not been amazing. He's not even got close to the transfer fee that he's been purchased for. I think he's been good at 5-yard passes, at breaking up the play in certain scenarios, but I also think he's been woeful on the ball at times. I think he's been the reason we've conceded goals. I don't think he knows what his best position is, and I don't think we've seen close to the player that we had at Brighton, or we saw at Brighton in the Premier League. And I really don't see what Enzo Fernandez brings to the team. Yes, he's been misprofiled, and we can talk about Pochettino and his wrongdoings and his misleading management for hours. We all know that. But when a player is put onto the pitch, whether he's young enough or he's experienced enough, it doesn't really matter. If you've got it, you show it. I've seen players step onto a football pitch and deliver. I've seen players go against what their manager has told them to do to win a game of football. And then the manager goes, actually, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that is the best way for us to attack a game or to set up for a game. And maybe because of the inexperiences this Chelsea Football Club has, or the lack of real stars or ability or determination or drive to win that this current squad has, we're not going to see that. We're seeing young, insecure, inexperienced, egotistical players not delivering results, but allowing their ego to continually grow at Chelsea Football Club. And that's where we're going wrong. It doesn't really matter who the manager is. Yes, there's a manager out there that could do better with this current squad of players. I don't disagree with that for a minute. I think Pochettino has failed miserably. We've got the business end of the season ahead of us. By the time this weekend finishes, after we've played Sheffield United and Manchester United this week, there will be 7 games left of the Premier League season. Once you get to that 30-game mark, you're really in the business end of the season, and there's no room for faltering. Well, Chelsea have nothing to play for. We have a trip to Wembley that now almost looks pointless against Manchester City, because they're going to be locking in, fighting for what they have to fight for. They're not going to want to let a game slip, because a game slipping could inevitably cause them a slip up somewhere else. Every game is now must win for Manchester City, and they could then go on to win another 3 trophies. Chelsea, we've got 1 game this season left, and that's a semi-final. And if we get through that, maybe it's another final, but more than likely it will be against a very good side as well. Where do we stand? What do we do? How do you fix this football club? I'm hearing so many people with so many suggestions, but right now, whilst Clearlake Capital are here, I don't see much happening. I don't see a huge drive and determination to fix anything until their pockets are hurt. That'll be when it really happens. If their pockets are genuinely being hurt and they're losing money, or people are removing backing from them, or there's implications to them and their business venture, then I believe we'll see change. But until then, I really don't. And on the pitch against Manchester United, what is there to suggest that a different Chelsea will turn up? That there's any reason for us to believe in the result that could come from this game? And even if there is, even if we go and beat Manchester United at home for the first time since 2016, what's that, 8 years we haven't beaten Manchester United, then what? We'd probably go up to Sheffield and lose to the worst team in England, because we just beat their closest competitors we just drew to their closest competitors this season, Burnley, with 10 men. Honestly, you have to think about what's being said here. Chelsea have fallen off so far that we're now just a laughing stock. It's a real disappointment at how poorly this club has been managed, and where we now lie, and where our fate lies for the next few seasons, even if the manager's sacked. Can you genuinely say that if he's sacked, we'll move up the table swiftly? Could you say that next season we could fight for Europe again? I don't believe you could. I'm seeing things suggesting that Chelsea Football Club could still turn their season around. Do you realise that at this point in the season, it's too late to turn it around? Even an FA Cup win, we go and win the FA Cup and we get Europe, it wouldn't change anything. Because the way Pochettino's asked us to play football is woeful. The way he sets us up and the mistakes he's made is unexcusable. It wouldn't change anything. And even if a new manager comes in, it won't change the players that we've got and the quality that obviously isn't there. I think about it. I look at the team. I look at the players that are out injured, which is another huge crisis at Chelsea. But I look at the players that are available. It's a mess. The team has been purchased without any thought of any position and what a player brings. We've got multiple players that do the same thing. We've got a lot of players who do nothing. We've got a completely unbalanced team, even with all our players fit. Chelsea Football Club is not what it once was. And we go into a game against Manchester United that should have been and should be one of the biggest football fixtures in England. And it couldn't be further from that. And I don't know how it will go. And I don't know what to expect from it. And that's part of being a Chelsea fan this season. And you know what? Maybe for all those years, I took winning at home and winning games for granted. Because now, winning a game or winning games consistently seems so far away. It really does. And keeping clean sheets, even last year, under Potter, under Tuchel, not Lampard, we had a very good defence. We did have a good defence, and it was just about scoring goals. We've completely eradicated any defensive qualities we had. They have been removed from this side. They're not there. We look awful. But there is a reason that players have looked good defensively under a different manager. And that is down to the management and how they're coaching players. I'm sure of it. Players don't become awful overnight. Yeah, they can have purple patches and good bits of form, but we've seen some good defenders this season look lost, and that's because I think the team has been set up in a way that doesn't allow them to have any control, whether that be on the ball, without the ball, in attacking situations. It's all a mess at Chelsea Football Club. Look, it's going to be a tough game against Manchester United. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on how you think it will go. I'm worried. I'm concerned. And I genuinely think Chelsea's season is finished, and writing it off really isn't the worst idea. I will see you after the Manchester United game to let you know my thoughts.